Thanks to voters, judges have the power to hold felony suspects in jail until trial. Our ABQ Forward Crime Crisis Reports this week focuses on pretrial detention. On Wednesday, we showed you changes our state Supreme Court could be considering. Now, our Kai Porter explains how the state legislature could do the same.
Should changes to our state's pretrial detention system come from the courts or the legislature? One state lawmaker here at the Roundhouse thinks the legislature should be responsible for making any changes. He's introduced a bill aimed at making it easier for prosecutors to keep suspects in jail before trial. But at this point, it looks like the governor is not on board with the idea. Protests and public outrage last November after Judge Charles Brown ordered the release of Fabian Gonzalez. Police believe Gonzalez is partly to blame for the brutal murder of 10-year-old Victoria Martins 3 years ago. Gonzalez had been held on a $1 million cash-only bond. But Judge Brown denied a pretrial detention motion filed by prosecutors seeking to keep Gonzalez in jail until his trial.
The question before the court is, does the defendant today present by clear and convincing evidence a danger to anyone in the community? The state has not proven that.
Critics say this case is an example of what's wrong with our state's pretrial detention system.
I think that we've got to fix it, and it's, we need to fix it now.
State Representative Bill Rehm, a Republican from Albuquerque, thinks it should be up to lawmakers to make a change. This legislative session, he's introduced a bill that he believes is part of the solution by making it easier for prosecutors to keep a suspect in jail before trial.
Right now, we're only looking at dangerousness of an individual, and we're not looking at the charge they're under. We're not looking at their past criminal history or their past failure to appear in court, and we should be.
According to the Bernalillo County District Attorney's Office, judges granted 53% of pretrial detention motions in 2019. That's up from 42% in 2018. Rehm's bill calls on judges to keep a suspect locked up pre-trial if the defendant is charged with a first-degree felony, a serious violent offense, was previously convicted of any felony, or has previously violated conditions of pretrial release for any offense. That is, unless the defense can prove the defendant won't be a danger if released.
The legislature would now determine what dangerousness would be, and these individuals should be held for that.
But Rehm's bill has its critics, like Chief Public Defender Ben Bauer.
I think the results would be that it would keep far more people in jail who actually are not dangerous, and that isn't good for public safety, because what we see and what data has shown is that if people are held in jail for too long, they lose touch with their community, their job, their family, and they're more likely to commit new crimes when they get out. So in meaning to keep the public safer, in the end what we're doing is actually make the public less safe.
Bauer thinks for the most part the current pretrial detention system is working.
There's a lot of data that's been provided by Finance Council and by the University of New Mexico that shows that this system is accurate in predicting who may commit crimes, who may get out, and of course there will always be some tragic crimes that happen, but that would happen under any system.
But the debate may be premature at this point. With just a few days left in the legislative session, the governor still hasn't added the bill to her agenda. During a short 30-day session, anything not directly related to the budget has to receive what's called a message from the governor to be considered by lawmakers. A spokesperson for the governor sent us this statement about the bill, saying, quote, HB 32 does not have a message at this time. The governor's office continues to work with the Supreme Court Committee to evaluate pretrial detention in New Mexico with evidence-based data and is confident in the good work that the group is doing. In January, that committee, appointed by the Supreme Court, met for the first time. The committee is looking at possible changes to the pretrial detention system. The committee will submit an initial report to the Supreme Court by the end of March. So it appears any changes to our state's pretrial detention system won't be coming from lawmakers this session. What changes, if any, recommended by the Supreme Court's committee remain to be seen. With this ABQ Forward team report, I'm Kai Porter at the Roundhouse.